Hi, I'm Marc and welcome to the weekly Outside Views report on European politics. Anyone who uses English words in Italy could soon get into trouble and face heavy fines. Italy's nationalist ruling party Fratelli d'Italia, the Brothers of Italy, want to impose fines of up to €100,000 on public and private bodies that use foreign terms in official letters. English words in particular are a thorn in the side of Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's party. Anglomania has an impact on society as a whole, according to the draft law, which several English language media report unanimously on. The widespread use of English demeans and humiliates the Italian language, they say. In the future, all public and private institutions should only use Italian to advertise goods and services. Abbreviations, foreign words, and the names of companies and international institutions are also to be translated into Italian in the future. In English, they should only be allowed if they are non-translatable. According to the draft law, Italian must also be the main languages in the language in offices that work with foreigners. The language is obligatory for the promotion of public goods on national territory. Non-compliance can result in fines between €5,000 and €100,000. It is still unclear whether and when the law will come into force. The Fratelli d'Italia introduced the bill, but it now has to be approved by both chambers of the Italian parliament. Asylum seekers are not allowed to be pushed back. However, the Croatian government apparently knew that the illegal practice was being used within its borders. According to a media report, the Croatian security authorities may have known about illegal rejection of asylum seekers, so-called pushbacks. 60 screenshots from an internal WhatsApp group of the Croatian authorities should suggest this suspicion, as was reported by the German magazine Spiegel and international media on Thursday. And they say they have the screenshots. According to the Spiegel, the Croatian government denies knowing about illegal pushbacks, having tolerated them or controlled them. Zagreb adheres to all applicable laws and cannot confirm the authenticity of the screenshots, as the Interior Ministry told the Spiegel. Nothing illegal could be seen from the screenshots either, they say. According to the report, high-ranking police officers and officials from the Croatian Ministry of the Interior exchanged views in the WhatsApp group in 2019 and 2020. A message could have been interpreted in such a way that a group of migrants had been picked up inland and were to be transported to the border for deportation. A wording is used that, according to the Spiegel, is a code for Croatian pushbacks. It can be translated as deterrence or deter. According to the report, the Interior Ministry emphasized that the term was not clear and was also used by police officers in other contexts. Around 5 weeks before the elections in Turkey, unknown persons fired shots near the headquarters of the largest opposition party, the CHP, in Istanbul. The CHP provincial chair Canan Kaftancioğlu reported on Twitter on Thursday of an armed attack that was allegedly directed against the party headquarters. According to a police officer and a security guard, 6 to 7 shots were fired, but the building was not hit. The Istanbul governor's office said it had evaluated surveillance cameras and found that unknown persons had shot into the air from a vehicle on a nearby highway. 2 bullet casings were found, and the investigations continued. A week earlier, bullets had hit the office of the opposition party E, which is allied with the CHP in Istanbul. The government later announced it was a misguided shot by a security guard who was chasing a thief. The head of the E party, Meral Akşener, on the other hand, saw the incident as a threat. The parliamentary and presidential elections will take place on May 14th. According to surveys, a 6-party opposition alliance with their joint candidate, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, has a good chance of replacing President Recep Tayyip Erdogan after 20 years in power. A day after the unsuccessful talks between the French government and the unions over the pension dispute, tens of thousands across the country took to the streets again to protest. Individual riots broke out in Paris, Lyon, and Nantes on Thursday afternoon. The authorities expected up to 800,000 demonstrators across the country on the new day of strikes and protests against the gradual increase in the retirement age from 62 to 64 years. Demonstrators reportedly blocked access to parts of Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. There were also blockades on roads and various universities in the country. According to media reports, shops in Lyon were damaged. In Nantes, the police used tear gas in clashes. The atmosphere in Rennes was also tense. As the host of the next NATO summit in mid-July, Lithuania intends to seek an official invitation to Ukraine to join the Western military alliance. The parliament in Vilnius unanimously approved a corresponding resolution on Thursday. We believe that Ukraine will contribute to our security and make NATO stronger, said Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Zygimantas Pavilionis. The summit will take place in Vilnius on July 11th and 12th. After the Russian attack on his country, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky applied for accelerated accession in autumn 22. There are considerable reservations within the alliance about this. As of this week, as a result of the Russian war of aggression, Finland has been a member of the North Atlantic Pact, which currently consists of 31 countries. Sweden also wants to join as soon as possible, but this is blocked by Turkey and Hungary. Ukraine has increased an order for wheeled infantry fighting vehicles in neighboring Poland from 100 to 150 units. This was announced by Polish government spokesman Piotr Müller, according to the PAP agency, one day after President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Warsaw on Thursday. The KTO Rosomek tanks are to be financed with financial aids from the USA and the EU. This is a licensed version based on the Finnish military vehicle Patria AMV. In addition, Ukraine ordered the construction of more than 50 M120 REC self-propelled mortars. The delivery of 100 missiles for short-range anti-aircraft missile systems is also planned. According to government information from Warsaw, the total value of the armaments delivered from Poland to Ukraine is 2.1 billion euros. Russia has defended against the West's criticism of stationing nuclear missiles in neighboring Belarus in response to NATO expansion. Because we fear for our safety, we are of course taking steps to ensure it, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told the Interfax news agency on Thursday. Every time the Western military alliance moves towards Russia's borders, Moscow must do something to balance the security architecture on the continent. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, on the other hand, has warned China against arms deliveries to Russia. After talks with head of state and party leader Xi Jinping together with French President Emmanuel Macron, von der Leyen told the press in Beijing on Thursday that she was counting on China not making any military equipment available to Russia directly or indirectly. Arming the aggressor would be against international law, and it would severely damage their relations. As a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, China has a great responsibility. We expect China to play its part and support a just peace, one that respects Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, one of the cornerstones of the UN Charter. In their talks, she emphasized that she firmly supports the peace plan of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. China has a great responsibility to use its influence on Russia. We are counting on China, she said. Only very few people in Kiev are currently aware of the plans for the expected Ukrainian offensive to recapture the Russian-occupied territories. At most 3 to 5 people, said the Secretary of the National Security Council, Alexei Danilov, in a radio interview on Thursday. Information about where, when, and how one or another action on the territory of our planet begins is reserved for a small circle, he said. If there's one or the other explanation for the offensive, this does not necessarily correspond to the truth, he said. When certain military actions will begin, certain military operations, well, this is information for a very limited number of people. The Ukrainians would already know when things will start, he said. Danilov indicated that planning for the full-scale attack had already been completed. Keep that in mind, he said. The so-called spring offensive of the Ukrainian armed forces, which were recently armed with heavy weapons and tanks from the West, is expected in the near future. An advance to the coastal town of Melitopol is expected to split the Russian troops. In recent months, the Russian military has massively strengthened and expanded its defensive positions in order to fend off the expected attack. And this concludes this week's report on European politics. You'll find another report right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.